ACPD, January 14th, sound check 1, sound check 1. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Terry, the LC for the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities. If you could please indicate your presence when I call your name. Ben Cullimore, Vance Dingman.
Here.
Kara Hernold.
Here.
Levi Genosi.
Present.
Leif Johansson.
Here.
Hargan Carr. Paula Kilburn.
Here.
Jake Maurice. Mark McNeil.
Here.
Tim Murphy. Kim Nolan.
I'm here.
Tim Nolan.
Here.
Robert Westbrook. And James Kemp.
Here.
And will the staff who are present, please let them introduce their name and position.
Tamara Bates, Legislative Coordinator.
Rebecca Benke, Project Manager, Community Inclusion and Equity.
Jessica Bowen, Manager of Diversity and Inclusion.
Mohammed Al-Khatib, Senior Project Manager with the Community Strategies team.
Christy Taddison, Senior Project Manager with the Community Strategies team as well.
As we have quorum present for today's meeting, I would like to call this meeting of the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities to order. As well, a reminder that all electronic devices are to be switched to a non-audible function during committee meetings. Our first point of order is the appointment of committee chair and vice chair. May I please have nominations for the position of ACPD chair?
Nominate myself.
James Kemp has nominated himself for chair. Are there any other nominations? Okay, can I have a seconder for James's nomination? Lance? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. The next point of order is the appointment of committee vice chair. May I please have a nomination for the position of ACPD vice chair for 2025? Paula? Paula, are you nominating Paula?
I'm nominating Paula.
James is nominating Paula. Is there another nomination? May I have a seconder for the nomination? Levi? Any opposed? That carried. James will now take over as chair.
Thank you very much, Elsie McIntosh. Thank you, everybody. Now that that's out of the way, 3, approval of agenda. May I please have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as presented? I do have an amendment to the agenda regarding climate justice.
Members, please remember to turn your cameras on.
This is a little bit unusual. We're doing a new format. So we're asking for people to bring up other business that they would like to speak to at this point. Are there any other amendments other than the one I mentioned? Kim and Tim Noel.
So, hey, James, I would like to bring up other business.
Can you give us a brief description?
Sure. I'm going to talk about the accessibility in the city of Hamilton for entertainment at core, like First Ontario Center, while there's constructions going on, and why are we not being consulted on accessibility? Hamilton Place is atrocious. I want to see what we can do about Hamilton Place.
Okay, we will add that to the other business.
Okay.
Anything else? I'm not seeing any, so then we will go to the vote. Oh, sorry, I forgot about the mover and a seconder. I apologize. I'm getting back in the swing here. I have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as amended.
Mark.
Paula and Mark. Okay, now we will go to the vote. Are there any opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Agenda is passed. Okay, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? I am seeing none, so we will move on. 5, approval of minutes of the previous meeting, 5.1, December 10th, 2024. May I please have a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes as presented? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Paula, seconded by Kara. Thank you. Are there any discussion on the minutes? Not seeing any, so we will go to the vote. Is there any opposed to adopting the minutes as presented? Seeing none, that's carried. Thank you very much. 7, items for information, staff point 1, staff presentation, community safety and well-being plan. Christy Taddison, Senior Project Manager, Community Strategies, and Mohammed Al-Katab, I apologize if I mispronounced that, Senior Project Manager, Community Safety and Well-being, are here to provide the committee with a presentation on this item. Christy and Mohammed will provide their presentation, and then questions can be asked by members at the end. May go ahead.
Thank you. We're very excited to be here today to share information with the community about the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. So thank you very much for the invitation. I'll just wait till, oh, there you go. Mohammed's got it up on screen for us. So for those of you who are not aware, when I flip to the next slide, Mohammed, the Community Safety and Wellbeing, Hamilton's actually mandated, the entire province of Ontario is actually mandated to have a Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan for each municipality. Under the province's Community Safety and Policing Act, this is the requirement that we all work together to develop a community safety plan. The aim of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan is to ensure that all residents in the community feel safe, have a sense of belonging, and can meet their needs for education, healthcare, food, housing, income, and social and cultural expression. Essentially, we want to build a community together where everyone can thrive. In terms of the model, there is a model that has been developed by the ministry in terms of how we are to approach the development of our Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. You'll see here on this slide.
I have to just pause it for a second. There are some people here that don't have a site. So if you could describe some of what you're speaking to, would be more helpful, I think. Thank you.
Okay, sure, no problem. So what is the visual that is on the slide is basically sort of an image that sort of breaks down the 4 different components of the community safety and wellbeing framework that we follow. And so those components include social development, which is the promoting and maintaining of community safety and wellbeing. So that's really about getting at the root causes of what leads to some of the challenges that we face when we're managing community safety and wellbeing. In addition, the next section is with regards to prevention. So that's about proactively identifying some of the risks that people may experience. And then the next section of the diagram is about risk intervention. So this is about managing situations of elevated risk. And then the 4th is incident response, and that's the critical and non-critical response to emergency situations in our community. And this is the situation that we ultimately are aiming to avoid. In our community, there are those situations where incident response is required, but really at the end of the day, if we were to achieve the ultimate goal and outcome of a community, an effective community and safety wellbeing plan, we would be able to address those upstream interventions and get at those root causes to make sure that people have access to all of the things that they need so that they would not run into the situation where they would find themselves involved in incident response. So in terms of our guiding principles, so this is right now we have our first community safety and wellbeing plan was developed in 2021. Of course, it wasn't the most ideal time to be engaging the community for a plan. As you all recall, that was during the pandemic. Nonetheless, the team that was involved at that time, it wasn't Mohammed and I, they did a really great job of trying their best to capture as much community voice as possible to inform the plan. And what we learned during those conversations with community was that the actions that we take to address community safety and well-being, the way in which we engage those actions are just as important or even more important than the actions themselves. And so through the community consultation, the guiding principles for community safety and well-being were established. And those principles include equity, diversity, and inclusion, ensuring that community engagement is at the core of everything we're doing to inform this plan, making sure that we're making data-informed decisions and that we're also holding ourselves accountable to evaluate the work that's being done, as well as sustainable funding. So always looking for opportunities for sustainable funding to support the plans and actions that we pursue, and then ultimately system collaboration. At the core of community safety and well-being in terms of what our purpose is and why we exist is to support enhanced service coordination and system planning. So when we think about community safety and well-being, it's sort of an ecosystem is how we like to kind of think about it. It's the nesting place for all other strategies. There's many strategies across the city of Hamilton. We have a housing strategy, we have an urban indigenous strategy, we have a youth strategy, many different strategies that exist in the human service realm. And the idea is that this is the place where they can all be nested together to kind of work together to find that synergy about how we can work together to enhance service delivery across the various strategies under understanding that these particular strategies do not exist in isolation and they should not be sort of managed in silos. And so this plan is really helpful to help us be very intentional about bringing those strategies together and looking for opportunities for collaboration. This next slide here talks about our system leadership table. So in terms of our governance structure, we have a systems leadership table that guides the strategic direction for the plan. And you can see here, there are a number of different organizations regarding that play a role in the system leadership table, including Banyan, CHIL, the City of Hamilton is leading this work, Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion, the Hamilton Health Sciences, NAWASA, Indwell, YWCA. Sorry, I just gotta pull up my slide here. The United Way, Hamilton Wentworth District School Board, the Catholic District School Board, the Hamilton Police Service, McMaster University, Mohawk College, St. Joe's Healthcare, the Women Abuse Working Group. We have Hamilton Child and Family Supports, and the French School Boards, and the Hamilton Roundtable for Poverty Reduction. Oh, and the Hamilton Community Legal Clinic as well. I think I captured them all there. And I think maybe the Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition is there as well. Sorry, I can't see my slides so well. So this is the members that are currently part of the system leadership table. And I will say that we are continuing, this group is continuing to grow as we identify gaps in community and as the plan sort of shifts and we respond to the needs that are showing up in community. So it's a regular standing item that we review this membership to make sure that we are always listening and making sure that those gaps are being addressed as we move forward with our work. So that this table basically sets the strategic direction and guides the implementation of the plan as well. So I'll turn it over to Mohammed to talk a little bit about the priorities of our current plan and then what's in store with our revision.
Thank you, Christy, and happy to be presenting here with you all. So, as Christy mentioned, with the priorities and with this plan being mandated, after that, the City of Hamilton did some consultation with the community through community engagement with the stakeholders, external, internal stakeholders, and came up with the priorities that the community identified, and that was in 2019. To 2020 during that year, so prior to COVID. That's why some of those priorities has to be shifted within the work that we've done during the last few years, responding to the pandemic. But the priorities that they were identified during that process were access to income, housing and homelessness, hate incidents, mental health and stigma, substance use, and violence. So those are the 6 priorities that our plan are working toward, and these are the priorities identified by the community, and we would like to say that they are owned by the community. So these are the community's priorities that they were identified. Within the revision, so as of April 2024, legislation updated requesting all municipalities to review and revise this plan. And we should have a revised plan ready by July 1st, 2025. And just to mention and to add to that this plan is mandated to all cities or province or regions. It depends who's holding that responsibility, the city or the region. So in collaboration with other municipalities, and we have some meetings that we meet with the different regions and municipalities in the GT, Greater Toronto, Hamilton, Greater area. We meet with those municipalities, and we've done something called municipal scan and asset mapping, just to see what's happening during the revision, just to confirm what's happening around what are the priorities that the other regions, the other cities are dealing with, and to see what we can have as a common themes across the regions, across the cities. We have something else that we are doing for this revised plan, where we looked into the data strategy. We developed a data strategy team, working with some data consultants that they came to our team, and they have some data set, and we provide some data as well through our partners that they work within the community, and they look at the data, and they were able to identify some priorities as well that we're going to look at, and this is going to inform the plan. So Other approach that we took to look at the priorities, to identify the new priorities, are the community engagement approach. Within the community engagement approach, we've done 3 different streams for that community engagement approach. We've done the focus group discussions, where we went to different action group, different committees, different groups that are identified by the city, that they work sometimes externally, not led by the city, sometimes they're led by the city. We met with those group, like examples of those group that we have, the NYC, we have the age collaborative group, the seniors as well group that we've met with during the community engagement that we've done. The roundtable, Hamilton Roundtable for Poverty Reduction as well, one of those focus group discussions that we've done. We've done around 20 of those focus group discussions with different committees and different action groups are existed. We've done something called targeted engagement, where we asked our partners across the city that they work with the community to reach out to populations that usually we don't hear from. So the population identified by the ministry as vulnerable communities, so they reached out to some of those population. We worked with the 12 partners, and they worked with mostly more than, I think, 10 categories of the community that we usually don't hear from, and let's call them underserved or underrepresented. And the third way that we've done our engagement through the community engagement was through the Engage Hamilton page, where we have put on the Engage Hamilton page some public engagement for folks in Hamilton to come and give their feedback on the priorities and identify the new priorities. Now we're in the process of doing some data analysis and validation. We're going to collect all those information, all those feedback that we collected from the municipal scan to the data strategy to the community engagement approach, collecting all that data and come up with a comprehensive report telling us or informing what are the priorities that we're gonna be tackling through the next plan. Hopefully we can have that ready within a month or two. We're gonna validate that with the community within a validation process, then prepare the report for the council, and then after we have it approved from the council, prepare the final report to send it to the Ministry of Citizen General. So that's the process of the revision. I want now to ask for if anyone have any question on that.
Thank you very much. I will save mine till the end. Does anybody have any questions? Paula? Yeah, can you stop sharing? We can't see the people on the screen, that's all. Okay, Paula, if you go ahead, please. Oh, you're muted.
Okay.
Got it.
Thank you. During that presentation, I didn't hear anything about anybody with a disability or accessibility in that presentation at all.
Thank you for the question, Paula. So sorry if I didn't mention that, but within the community engagement that we've done, the targeted engagement, we identified people with disability as one of the categories that our partners need to reach out to. And we have 3 out of those partners. We collaborated with 12 partners with that targeted engagement. 3 of those partners, they've done their sessions within focus group discussions with groups that are people with disabilities, and those 3 partners for highlight or transparency are Hamilton Roundtable for Poverty Reduction, City School by Mohawk College. They've done focus group discussions as well with a group of people with disability, and Mishka Social Services. They sent us the report back for those focus group discussions, and now they are being process with the other reports back from the different community engagement that we've done. So I think that where we have specifically went out to people with disability feedback, the other feedback that we got through the I think the focus group discussion that we've done with I think age-friendly collaborative. It's is it?
Seniors at risk.
And seniors at risk as well. Those two committees that we've done focus group discussions with them. Yeah, and we always believe that there is always room to do more engagement as well. And that's why we're open to come to any committees that we can come to and we're invited to. And we are sharing survey for whoever couldn't, for whoever we couldn't do the engagement with them. So we're sharing survey and hopefully we can share it with Carrie by the end of this meeting where she can share it with the group and the group can respond. We opened this survey and we are extending it until we finish the data and the analysis and validation. So we have it, I think, till end of the month open.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Paula. Any other questions? No? Okay. Paula, if you could take the chair for me, please.
I have the chair, sir.
Thank you very much. Yes, Tom Cooper from the Roundtable brought this to my attention and asked my opinion on it. And I noticed the same thing Paula did when I read, I think it was a slightly different report regarding the work you've done, that there was excluding people with disabilities, some of the concerns we had, most especially recently during the pandemic, we found we were completely abandoned, basically. Decisions were made for us that affected us poorly. We had, during that time, 2019 to 2020, our committee was paused because of the pandemic. So we had no voice to raise these concerns. So we found a very systemic failure of the system for people like us. And so it's a big concern when plans like this are made without appropriate consultation. Pardon me. And I haven't seen the newest report from the consultation you had with the other groups. So hopefully that helps. Another example of where we feel that we're left on the most recent or last year's heat emergency plan. We've completely negated the needs of persons with disability, which is community safety and well-being. So, I mean, those are just two examples where we feel that we should have more consultation or at least have more input into some of these decisions. So we'd be happy to fill out that survey and do whatever consultation we can, I believe. Sorry, I don't think there was a question there. I think it was just a statement. Sorry.
Just to respond, I just had a comment just to build on what you were saying, validating and hearing you. Absolutely. I think in our initial review of the plan that was done, again, it was done during the pandemic, but regardless of that, I share your observation, and those of you who have looked at the plan, that there are pieces that are missing as far as persons with disabilities, absolutely, and this is not the only group that's missing from the initial plan. So I think that we endeavor to make sure that we don't have that happen again as we enter into the new plan. And so we are absolutely open to hearing your feedback, and as well as far as our system leadership table goes, if there is a membership, a group, a particular organization that you think should potentially be considered to be included in the system leadership table so that there is a consistent voice at that table, we would be open to hearing any recommendations you have as well.
Excellent, thank you. I know that this committee would be happy to. I also know that the Disability Justice Network has been very active in Hamilton as well. So that's another option as well. So I look forward to filling out the survey, and I hope that everybody else has a chance to fill out the survey. We will send out the link to everybody and hopefully get some of that information in for the next step. I want to thank you for coming. I don't think there's any other questions. Are there any questions or comments at this moment?
I have the chair back, so.
Oh, thank you. Yes, sorry, I'll take the chair back. Sorry. I don't think there's any other questions or comments at this moment. I think we'll just do the survey and we'll put in our information. Yes. Okay.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and please reach out at any time beyond the consultation.
Absolutely. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for coming. Okay, so is there any discussion on the presentation? Seeing none, so then we will move into a vote. Can I get a mover and a seconder to receive the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Moved by Paula, seconded by Lance. Robert. Perfect. Is there anybody opposed to the motion? I'm seeing none. Okay, that's received. Thank you very much. 7.2, staff presentation, accessibility complaints to the City of Hamilton. Jessica Bowen, Manager, Diversity and Inclusion, is here to provide the committee with a presentation on this item. Jessica will provide her presentation and then questions will be asked by members at the end. Jessica.
Let's see what I'm going to share here. That's not what I wanted. Okay. Okay. So thanks, James. So I was asked or I was invited to come to the meeting to give the committee an update on the accessibility concerns that were brought forward in 2024. So that's why I'm here. So I'm going to share a little bit about the feedback process that the city has in place, and then a little bit about the themes that we saw last year, the number of concerns that were raised, and kind of a little bit more about what that means. So as outlined in the AODA legislation, the city has a feedback process. The city actually has several feedback processes, but we have a main feedback process where anybody who has an accessibility concern or is experiencing a barrier to participating in our programs, our facilities, et cetera, they can contact the city, and they can do that by phone, by email, by kind of any other means. And then city staff will follow through on that feedback to find ways to eliminate the barrier, reduce it, interrupt it, whatever might be happening. So primarily so what I'm about to share with you is the information that has come through the AODA email that we have set up at the city. So aoda@hamilton.ca. That's also where the contact center. So a lot of times what we receive is individuals will call in to the contact center or the city's main line. And then the individuals that are like our customer contact staff will then they'll triage the complaint or the concern, and then they'll send it over either to the AODA email, or they may send it off to the appropriate city department. And then sometimes they come directly to us. So there's a number of different ways that we get feedback, but I'm just going to share typically I'm going to share in 2024 what came directly through to our office in diversity and inclusion. And I will kind of just let everybody know on the call, because of cybersecurity incident, that feedback process was disrupted, right? Because we had an impact on our phone lines. And a lot of times that's how we get the information, is through a phone call to the contact center and then back to our office. Okay, so general themes, I broke it down into some general themes because, and I'll explain a little bit about each area. So that we had 36 concerns overall that were brought to the city. That number is significantly lower than what we've seen in previous years. And that's mostly, I'm going to suggest, is due to the cybersecurity incident. We had 10 concerns that were raised related to city programs, policies, facilities, et cetera. So examples of these concerns ranged from and included things like a lack of automatic doors in city-owned facilities, either a lack of or a shutdown of operational elevators, a few parking related requests. So some of those requests included things like not having appropriate accessible parking signage in like designated signage in particular places in city-owned facilities. Requests for increases in the number of accessible parking spots in certain locations, and in some instances, concerns about the misuse of accessible parking permits. Another theme that came up was barriers encountered as a result of construction work that was undertaken by contractors to the city. So there were a few concerns that came up in relation to that. And then I've also included here accommodation requests, because sometimes what we do see is we see individuals who are requesting accommodations to participate in our programs, our facilities, et cetera, and we may triage them there as well. We had 7 concerns that were related to private businesses or organizations, and typically this is actually where we see, I typically year over year see more concerns about private business than about the city, and that could be for any number of reasons. But examples of concerns that were raised related to private businesses included things like lack of accessibility in actually attending church, experiences, sorry, there's a duplicate there, but experiences of ableism by employees at a private business, inquiries about AODA enforcement for private businesses. So in all of these cases, we will try to take appropriate steps to address the issues with private business, even though we don't have oversight of private businesses, but we will do what we can to at least raise to the business owners. These are the concerns that are being raised, and maybe potentially provide some guidance on how they might increase accessibility at their location. And we had 8 inquiries about digital accessibility. And so on this front, that could include internal staff and external staff, external individuals who are asking about sort of best practices when we're producing documents. That could be asking for an alternate version of a document that the city has produced. That's also including things like reviewing documents for accessibility. I've got there like Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. We had 3 concerns that were raised specific to the AODA legislation. So that is in like specific cases where somebody is reading the legislation and saying there may be a conflict here or a barrier that's existing. And so those fell in the design of public spaces standard, information and communication standard, and then accessibility enforcement for new businesses. And then there were 8 concerns that were raised that I've kind of bucketed under general concerns. So that could include things like questions related to the policies that we have at the city related to AODA and accessibility, some questions about AODA certification. So that's come up more than once, about whether or not there is a certification process where we can have like a building or something like that certified as compliant. And then, as you will all be familiar with, there were concerns about the Fair Assist program that were shared with our office as well. So that's in general terms, that's the overview of the types of concerns that we would see on a yearly basis and what we saw last year. And I've just put a note at the end of this document. When I say it's an accessibility concern, that could be a barrier to something at the city, but that can also include other things like consultations on the legislation or review of documents or that sort of thing. So because they all came to our office, I just wanted to share, generally speaking, the types of concerns or questions that we had seen over the last year. So I don't know if there's any questions on that, but that's what 2024 looks like.
Okay, thank you very much, Jessica. Are there any questions for Jessica? I have a question. So, Paula, if you could take the chair from me.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that there's several ways of complaints to get through. And I myself, being a committee member, it's taken me a little while to find the proper appropriate channels for some of these complaints to go through. How often do other departments bring complaints to your office?
So typically, they might if they don't know how to address it or if they need support in addressing it. So I can give you an example of, like, I had a question that came up today that didn't come to our office, but it has to do with service animals and support animals. And so in the particular situation, staff are uncertain whether there's a legislated obligation, and so they'll come to consult to say what are the appropriate next steps. That doesn't happen with every file or with every complaint that comes in, which is an area of opportunity for the city and an ongoing conversation about how we, because the city has multiple ways of providing feedback, what I've just given the committee is only a small snapshot of the type of feedback and the number of feedback or number of pieces of feedback that we would have received over the year, because it's not every one of them that would come back to the Diversity and Inclusion Office for consultation.
Okay. Thank you. Follow up then. Shoot, I just lost my train of thought. Given that not everybody understands the AODA or understands what's covered under the AODA, my question would be, is there a simpler way to do this other than, I mean, because you've got to go 3 pages into the website to get to the AODA complaint section. I mean, the first one that comes up is MLE, which used to be my first, MLE was my first complaint process. Is there a better way or a clearer way of putting in, say, for example, a barrier report? I've run across a barrier. It's a little clearer than, say, the AODA complaint, and you don't know if it's violating the AODA or...
So I can talk to, because it would, on the website, you're right, I think it is buried a few pages deep to actually find the form that says, I have a concern, here's what it is, please fill this out. And when those are filled out on the website, they come directly to the Diversity and Inclusion Office. I can talk to comms, like our communication staff, to see if there's a way that we can get that barrier form put in a location that is more upfront. Like, I don't know if there's space on the homepage to do it, but somewhere that would be, I guess, easier to access than having to go through, because there's a specific path you have to go to get to that form. So it's definitely a conversation that I can have. Excellent.
And also the language, just simplifying what the complaints need to have in it. Like I said, but saying AODA complaint, not everybody's like, well, is it really AODA related or is it something else? So something to simplify the language of what people are complaining about. I don't know if that's possible. We can.
I'll have to take a look. So it's really good feedback. I'll have to take a look at what it says on the website, because I think it's really important to talk about accessibility. And like, if somebody has a specific concern about AODA, we're happy to address that. But I think from an inclusion and accessibility perspective, we want to know what are the barriers you're experiencing, whether or not they fit squarely within the legislation, or if it's just something that you're experiencing that maybe because the AODA is, right, like it's not new anymore, and it's in need of some revisions. And I think there are gaps within the legislation. And so we want to hear from employees and citizens and residents. We want to know, what are you experiencing that's preventing you from having that inclusive and accessible experience, whether that's like at a rec center or with one of our programs. So yeah, it doesn't have to fall within the legislation, and I'll review the content on the website, but there may be a way to make that clearer, to say accessibility concerns, including AODA specific.
Thank you very much. I only bring it up because when we were doing the research for the Accessibility Awards, on the same page, Kingston had a barrier report, in big bold letters. It's a barrier report. You come across a barrier, you file a barrier report. It was very clear. So I wondered at the time if something like that would be feasible. So just to clarify, because like I said, it took me a couple of years to be able to put through a proper complaint for accessibility because I didn't quite understand the process.
Yeah, and I think it's really good feedback, and I'll take a look at the website and the location of that specific form.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jessica. I think I'll take the chair back now.
Yes, sir, you have the chair.
Thank you very much. And just to wrap up, are there any other questions for Jessica? I am seeing none. So then can I get a mover and a seconder to receive the presentation? Paula, seconded by?
Robert?
Robert. Thank you very much, Robert. Okay. Is there any opposed to receiving Jessica's presentation? I'm seeing none. That's carried. Thank you very much, Jessica, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Okay, in the interest of time, we are going to hear all the items for information 7.3 to 7.8 and then receive them together at the end. I need to relinquish the chair to Paula.
Yes, sir. 7.3, built environment update.
Perfect. We discussed, well, I had an initial meeting with the roads planning department simply to make sure that we had the right people coming up to the next meetings. It was actually very confusing, all the different departments that are involved in road repair and road construction and road planning and road design. And then transportation does their own repairs at the same time. So we had a good discussion about that with Susan Jacob and Ed English. They're going to start inviting different departments to upcoming meetings of the Built Environment Working Group, starting with construction, working on white cane diversion and whatnot, signage placement, that sort of thing, especially on weekends when the sites are closed down. They also discussed the different levels of work that they have. The roads department, they have third-party vendors that do the vaults, which we're working on with another motion that I believe Jessica's working on as well. Then there is transportation repair, as I mentioned. There's road maintenance, and then there's developers. These are all the 5 groups that do any sort of road work. So they're going to have different people coming to the upcoming meeting so that we can start working through some of that, except for the vaults, which has already been worked on. Then we discussed the HSR snow clops curing discussion. We had some significant snowfall, or it wasn't significant, but it was long lasting, let's say. It was a good 4 inches there, frozen to the ground for a couple of weeks. And I found most of the bus stops to be inaccessible simply because the different groups were leaving snowbanks, preventing you from traversing from the sidewalk onto the bus stop. And then the snowbank being left on the edge of the bus stop and preventing the ramp from coming down. So we've had this discussion before with the HSR, and they told us that they contract with the city, so talk to the city. And then when we have snow clearing come, we ask them about it, and they tell us, well, the HSR is responsible, you should talk to them about it. So Built was going to look into that and hopefully narrow down who exactly is responsible for what. Did the outstanding business list. We discussed vice chair and working for the committee, and Kara gave us a brief update on the road safety committee that Hargan and Kara alternate. It meets once every 2 months, and so hopefully we'll get an update from them soon. And that's it for Built Environment Working Group. Housing Working Group and Outreach did not meet in December. We are looking forward to meeting next week, and so I have no verbal update for them.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. I'll take back the chair. And Transportation Working Group.
Well, we didn't, there you go. We didn't meet in December, so I have nothing.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. That was quick. I guess I'll give you back the chair for a moment.
Okay, sir.
Strategic Planning Working Group update. Strategic Planning Working Group did not meet. Hopefully we will have Matthew at an upcoming meeting so that we can discuss some of the issues raised at the last Strategic Planning Working Group meeting. And that's it. I'll take back the chair.
You have the chair, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question, please?
Yep.
You said Matthew. First, who is Matthew, and when did the Strategic Planning Working Group last meet?
We met in the summer, and we were supposed to ask the head clerk or the new head clerk to come and meet with us. So we've invited him to an upcoming ACPD meeting. It was Matthew.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
I guess I will take back the chair again.
Yep.
Thank you. 7.8, Open Spaces and Parklands Working Group update. Is there a verbal update?
Yeah. No, there's been no meeting, so we're good.
Thank you. Okay, that was very quick. Oh, right, sorry, because it's not on here. Sorry. So, okay, 7.9, I will have to give back the chair again.
Oh, good. I have the chair, sir.
Thank you.
What's 7.9? I don't have 7.9.
7.9 is an amendment to the agenda. It's to discuss climate justice, or some people know it as climate equity. The Office of Climate Change is reaching out to different groups to sort of reach out to their individual communities on what exactly is climate justice? What is climate equity? What does it mean to our respective groups? And what can we do about improving it? Climate justice or climate equity, I think, have a branding issue simply because it's a very difficult name. It's a very short name for a difficult topic. Climate equity or climate justice can include what we were just talking about, snow removal, how we have more difficulty in the winter with snow removal and trying to get around. Climate justice can also relate to heat events, how it affects people with disabilities more because our immune systems are weakened or our other issues are weakened. So what the Office of Climate Change, I believe that's what it is, has done is they have a small budget to give to each of these groups to reach out to their respective communities, whether through a meeting at conventions or events, or providing information online through websites or periodical handouts of some kind. And the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities is a group that they've identified. They would like us to produce material for people with disabilities with respect to climate justice and climate change. And they are willing to provide up to, I believe, 3,000 to 6,000 for budget, as far as I remember, to produce our own materials, as well as to compensate people for their time, which they felt was very important for this sort of work. So I will have more information as of tomorrow. I believe the announcement is coming out. I just wanted to update people that this is in the works and hope to have more information soon.
Great. Thanks, James.
Yes, there's no questions. So then I will take back the chair.
You have the chair, sir.
Thank you. And 7.10, correct? 7.10. Accessibility for entertainment at Hamilton Place. Kim.
There you go.
Okay, so, because there's three aspects to core entertainment in Hamilton. There's First Ontario Centre, First Ontario Concert Hall, and the Convention Centre. And accessibility in all three of them it doesn't exist. I mean, it exists, but barely. In First Ontario Centre, it's under construction, but who's looking after accessibility in there? We don't know. Shouldn't we be on that? Shouldn't it be like we're the advisory committee for disability? I don't understand why we're not in there. What can we do to be heard?
I believe the city owns the building, but
We're not entirely sure at the moment. Go ahead, Jessica.
So my understanding is that the city has, so this is not my area. But James, so I was at one of the built environment meetings where we talked about this. And my understanding is the city has leased those buildings for like 100 years or some, I don't know if I'm making that number up, 99 years, something along those lines. And that company, I don't remember what it's not Core, it's something else. I just walked by the sign on the way over here. That group is responsible for doing all the renovations. They're responsible for all the costs associated with it. I did reach out to city staff to find out if there was a way that there could be engagement with ACPD. And I have not gotten, I don't have a response on that. But I do think that there's probably an opportunity for engagement on the 2 of the 3 renovations. So not Hamilton Place and I can't remember the other one. The one that's under renovation right now.
Convention Center.
The convention center. There may be, like, it might be worth reaching out to the company to
Is that
see.
QPEG?
Yeah,
Sorry,
I mean, we should be good.
I forget what they're called. I'll find out.
Okay.
I'll find out the name of them. We just don't have I don't have a contact name for that group. There is, I mean, like, if you want me to, I can follow up internally with city staff to see what we can
Yeah.
find out.
Because we should be in there for sure. I know Hamilton Place, they have 10 seats for accessibility. That's not even a tenth of the number of people that they can put in there. So, and those 10 spots are taken months, years ahead of time, because I tried to get tickets to a show in April. I tried in December to try, and they're taken up already. Just like they're gone. I don't understand, like, we don't have a chance. So now what I do is I just buy regular, oh, never mind, okay. So anyway, like, what do we do? What can we do? We should, honestly, we should be in there.
I think Jessica has offered a good option at the moment for her to reach out and ask city staff on contact people for us to move to the next step.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, it's Tim.
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, can we maybe ask Jessica if it's okay, just to report back at the next meeting on this matter? My experience with the city on renovation projects, whether it's a leased facility that the city owns or otherwise, the city is ultimately responsible for approving the design and the construction.
Yeah.
It has to be, because the city owns the building, even though the city may have leased the premises.
Right.
And may have leased the services that come from those premises. The city still is the owner of the facility, and therefore all projects have to be approved by the city. And that involves city staff. So somebody, the city, has endorsed the work that's already underway at COPS and is supposed to be underway at the convention center and is presumably going to be underway at Hamilton Place, although I hear through the rumor mill that Hamilton Place is actually potentially slated for the demolition fall because it may be irreparable. I don't know if that is in fact true, but that's what I'm hearing through the rumor mill, that it is irreparable.
Oh,
Okay, so we'll ask Jessica if she is able to come back with a possible contact answer.
Yeah.
At
For
the
the group.
February meeting, it would be appreciated.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to come back.
Thank you.
We need a motion for that. Okay. So just put forward a motion saying that we'll report back. Okay. And that will be, do you mind moving and seconding that, Kim and Tim?
Yeah, sure.
Sure,
Perfect.
that's fine.
Perfect. So then we will put that to a vote. So any opposed? Sorry, I just had a brain fade again. Apologize, medication. No opposed?
I had my hand up though.
Oh, I apologize,
Comment.
Levi, sorry. Go ahead, Levi.
So my hand was up to comment because what I heard is that making it to a show is not that accessible. But as far as even if you do make it to a show to Hamilton Place and you borrow an assistive listening device that you can put around your neck and into your ears, they don't work. So I was actually there last Friday to see a show, and the assistive listening devices, even though they said sometimes they don't work, so why don't you take two? and both of them were faulty. So I'm looking forward to that report back of what is the process of actually doing something about this. Thanks.
Thanks, Levi. And I'm sorry to hear that happen. Okay, so then we will move to a vote now in case there's any, unless there's any other comments. No? Okay. So is there any opposed to the motion of having Jessica come back? I'm seeing none. Then that motion is carried. Thank you very much, Jessica. So then now have we done all of the other ones together?
Yes.
Okay.
7.3 to 7.10.
7.3 to 7.10. Apologize, it's a new format, just a little bit confused, sorry. Okay, so we're gonna, I need a mover and a seconder to receive item 7.3 to 7.10.
I move.
I'll second.
Move seconded by Paula. Is there any discussion? Not seeing any, so we'll move to the vote. Is there anybody opposed? I'm not seeing anybody, so that motion is carried, and we move on to adjournment. There being no further business, this meeting is now adjourned at 5:06. Thank you very much, everybody. That was a very good meeting, and I look forward to the next one. Have a good night.
All F4, Swing Cheating, Dialogue, Cancel.